Okay, hi there, Primary Importance Podcast listeners. Today I am here with Eximus Education. Welcome. How are you both?
Thanks for having
Very
us,
well,
yes.
thank you, Kat.
Yeah, no problem. It's great to have you here. So tell us a little bit about Eximus Education and about both of you as well.
Do you want to start?
Right. So I've been a private tutor. Well, I come from accountancy background, but I've been tutoring for a while since 2011, and this is something that I enjoyed. So I probably didn't want to be a teacher because of the admin and the other things associated with it. So since I've been tutoring, I realized that there was a gap in the sense that there was the ones who needed tutoring most were the ones who were not getting it, and nobody was catering to them. Everybody was pivoted towards the independent schooling sector. And that's when I met Misbah. This was right at the outset of COVID-19. And we found that there was a huge learning loss because of school shutting down and school pupils not being able to do it digitally. And that's when we set up Eximus Education. So the idea is it's a social enterprise that aims to help schools, help parents in not only learning loss catch up, but also in having access to affordable after-school tutoring in a variety of subjects. This is from secondary level all the way to sixth form and even university, and that's where we sort of teamed up. So
kind of we both come from a finance background plus education background. Since Harris was a qualified chartered accountant, worked with Deloitte, and then I did my MBA and my MPhil in finance, worked with investment area for some time, and then but I've been an educator all my life. So I've been a university professor. I volunteered actually with a lot of charities, trained a lot of teachers, mostly in finance and resource mobilization. Somehow that education part always remained inside me, no matter what I did. And somehow all of this was driven because there was some kind of passion or purpose, which I think I realized long time back, that the sole purpose of any person's life should be to create an impact. And we both believe in this, that we don't want to die without creating or changing some lives at least. So when we're not there, at least somebody's life should have been changed, at least because of us. And that's the whole concept behind Eximus Education as well. So when Harris told me about the concept, I said, see, there are so many students who cannot afford tutoring because it's a luxury. There's £100 per hour tutor available for independent schools. And what about these students who have so much of learning loss? Their grades are falling. There's nobody to help. They can't afford tutoring. We said, okay, let's start talking to these parents. And we initially started talking to parents. Even before providing the services. And we used to take those calls ourselves. Now we have a whole team, 25 people to take care of that. But we used to speak to these parents, and there would be single mothers crying on the phone. And I would take those calls, and they would say, what do I do? I can't afford tutoring. And at times we would just go down every kind of route, forget about any revenues, anything. And we say, okay, we just want to help. We just want to help. So we started from two of us to now 25. And from 10 tutors or 4 to 5 tutors, right? And now we have around 200 plus.
That's a huge amount of growth.
So that's the whole reason behind Eximus Education.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I really love that you've kind of created a model that means that pupils that wouldn't normally have access to tutoring do have that access. And what has the impact been like that you've seen for those students?
So our target market is really the ones who actually, when the pandemic happened, was the one who suffered the most in terms of learning loss. Happens to be the deprived, disadvantaged areas. When it comes to schools, the ones with the higher pupil premium free school meals. So that's always been where we said the greatest impact needs to be created. So we started off with helping parents directly first, which was the B2C model. And immediately we realized that there's a a huge bunch of population which has never had tutoring, not because they don't believe in it, it's because they can't afford it. So that's where a big chunk of our growth came from. So I remember, initially every month we would grow from the previous one in terms of tutoring hours by at least 30%. So every month, the next month for the last 2 years, it was 30% more hours of tutoring delivered than the last month. And then the journey, we figured that, well, there are schools as well, and there are institutions that also need this help of affordable tutoring, whether it's at school or after school, but school-led. And that's when we started speaking with schools and trusts, starting again with the ones which were more disadvantaged. And that's where our traction started to be more on a B2B side as well. So now we not only help parents directly, but also with schools, in cases where there are SEN issues or disadvantaged pupils in terms of whether there's lack of a teacher or missed lessons, or even if it's just exam-oriented crash course for schools. And so that's kind of like our main growth driver now is the institutions, the B2B side. The B2C side is already growing very well. It's already sort of well established, working directly with parents. Thirdly, what we also now decided to do is to help other tutoring companies as well. So where they need affordable tutors, they need tutors at scale, and they already are working in communities, and they just need those tutors for certain subjects which they can't get anywhere else, and we give them tutors as well. So it's kind of like all three: B2C, B2B, and B2G.
And since you spoke about impact, Kat, the best part of the whole job is when after the exam, the parent messages you on the group saying that thank you very much. It has been an amazing journey, and my child not only developed academically, they boosted up their confidence as well.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point, right? It was not, yes, grades are extremely important. Yes, absolutely. But not only the grades, right? So where they were losing their confidence, and that was the reason why the grades were low.
Yeah, exactly.
All of that started increasing, and this is what we trained our tutors on too. So yeah, I think that's the impact which we were looking for, and by far we've been able to do that. So.
Yeah, being able to help them fulfill that potential. Do you find that there are any difficulties with the tutoring in terms of, I'm thinking of things like the digital divide for children getting access to tutors even through that in the first place?
I think more than digital divide, it's probably the non-digital sort of obstacles. So in certain communities, their lack of teachers, let alone tutors. So for example, if we pick certain subjects in sort of non-traditional, sociology or economics, right? So you find that there are not enough supply of educators out there for these sort of non-traditional. So maths, English, science, usually you find. So it's that angle as well. So that's where we found that schools and parents both found that the way for their child to have access to the subject is via a tutor. And that's where we felt that impact we were able to create by having those people and connecting them with these opportunities. So on the digital side, actually, what COVID did is accelerated receptiveness to technology and online learning, not only at schools but also with parents. And that's a wave that we benefited from a lot. Before COVID, people were probably less willing to do with online learning, and so that's just been a blessing in disguise for us. So, and actually, in terms of digital obstacles, we found that it was less of an issue, maybe because of COVID. So even if in the sort of far away or even disadvantaged community, access to a computer, and whether it's parents' computer or I think that's something that we found was less of an issue. Previously, maybe it would have been bigger of an issue. So that's something that's worked in our favor.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, that's really good to hear. I was just thinking that there might be some of those families who don't have access to some of those things, and how they would end up getting access to your tutoring.
Misbah.
Somehow no. So this, even if they're financially disadvantaged, this is one thing that we haven't seen. If they don't have a laptop, they have an iPad. They have something or the other,
some way to connect.
Or very rare have I seen a student having a phone. instead of a laptop or,
Yeah.
or an iPad, but probably that would be 1 in 300.
Yeah.
So most.
And I guess if you're working with the schools as well, they might be able to provide equipment for pupils that don't have it at home. So
plus we also guide them. So if somebody's never had an online, so we sort of brief them. So we show them a recorded video.
So they understand how it works.
So this is what you need. This is how it will work. And we sort of take them along the journey. So I think that digital sort of learning is something that they also get in a tutoring lesson as well, is how to,
how to use
I think this was, our team actually does this a lot. So at times there are parents who, and a lot of parents are immigrants as well, besides British parents.
Yeah.
So the student might know how to use the laptop, but the parents or the mother does not know how to go on Zoom, let's say.
Yeah.
And then my team would take them on a phone and on the laptop, and they'd be, they would
showing how
actually
to
be
do it, so
guiding them how
well.
to get on Zoom and how to switch on the video and the microphone. And I think it's a beautiful process where you see the parent also learning it.
Yeah, and they can be more confident with it as well. So do you still have quite a strong relationship with the parents as well? Obviously, I know you've got your tutors directly contacting pupils, but are the parents quite involved in that too?
Yes, actually, yes. I think when it comes under 18, parent has to be involved, right? So that's like no question on that. But
yeah, of course.
Yes, we speak to parents a lot. So there's continuous feedback, because even before the student starts, it has to be, and a lot of times, for example, GCSE student contacts us, but the parent has to be involved because they're under 18.
Course, yeah.
So we ask them to, make a speak to their parents, and then we understand their problems, their challenges. I wouldn't say problems, but challenges, and try finding opportunities in those. There's continuous feedback given to them. We even, when we started working with schools, that was our initial plan to get the parents involved too, if the school is okay with that.
Yeah.
Because then, if there is after school tutoring, because some of the schools are okay with in-school tutoring as well.
Yeah.
But some of them want after school tutoring, where I think it's extremely important that the parent supervision is there, so that the student is coming to the lesson and everything. So
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
No, I agree, and our philosophy is to believe in that triangle where you have the tutor, the teacher, and the parent.
Yeah,
that's where it's kind of more impactful. So what we do as a practical thing is, when we're communicating, we actually create two groups where one is with the tutor and the parent only, and one is where the child is there as well. So we sort of, just so that the parent is briefed and informed on what's happening.
Yeah,
and they also feel that they have an open channel with the tutor if there's anything to say.
Yeah, if they've got any concerns or anything like that, that's really helpful. And I guess as well, if you do have parents that, like you said before, might find it difficult using tech or even understanding perhaps the subject area that their child is trying to study, it must be really useful for them to speak to the tutor directly as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Correct, and we also in this whole process we inform. So when we ask the question, and when the parent does go for tutor, the kind of questions we ask them makes the parent think. So for example, when the parent knows to say, why do you need tutoring? I mean, what's the reason you do? Is it just because you've heard about it, or just because the person next door is having it? What is it happening in this child's school that you felt? So we just want them to be aware that they're doing it for the right reasons, not just the fact that everybody's having it and you should. And I think in those conversations, the parents just start to think and probably start to get to know more about the child and what's going on in school. And because they're now forced to ask the child is why what's the issue? Is it the fact that you miss classes? Is it the fact that you're not understanding it? Is there not a good teacher? So in all those respects, this relationship probably makes the parent get involved more in the child's education.
Yes, it increases that parental engagement as well.
So I think one thing which kind of like, or maybe one or two things which that kind of separates or something that we do uniquely in our organization. One is the fact that we both come from teaching tutoring background, right? So we've done it as individuals for a number of years. So we know how it is. And it's only after those experiences that we decided to do this. So as a result, we're able to understand better from a tutor's point of view on so that he gets a good experience, as well as the parent and the child. The other thing is technology, right? So we try to be very technology oriented in our lessons and in our approach. For example, when it comes to lesson plans, we are deploying an enterprise AI tool of not of our
Yeah.
own, but something which is like something that is customized for us.
Mhm.
And what that will do is with each lesson plan that's there, it's going to be consistent, and the parents get to see a consistent lesson plan from all tutors that sort of covers the main sort of field, whether it's examination board, and that also forces the tutor to plan for a lesson. And using AI to generate one saves a lot of time. So we try to use technology in terms of making it affordable and to keep it at scale as well. Similarly, when it comes to communication, we use digital channels more, where it leaves the room for transparency and open communication. When it comes to the lesson itself, we ask all of our tutors to use digital pens, whiteboards, lessons being recorded, things that are there writing on paper is captured on screen. So technology is a huge theme that we strongly believe in, that we not only deploy at the back end, but also in our lessons as well. And I think that's the future. And I think that's something more and more education sector needs to embrace rather than to shun away from.
Yeah.
So, so as I said before as well, that we both come from education background, and I think we grew up in an environment where we wanted to create an impact.
Yeah.
And that has been the sole purpose of whatever, we've done in our lives. A lot of things that we've done in our lives actually had the whole sole purpose of creating impact on somebody's life. And hence, when we started the organization, registered in an LTD, but then and then of course there was the startup environment where the whole world was moving to startups, and everybody wanted to start a venture driven by some kind of VC. And we were offered VC funding. We did not want to go through that route because of not going into the commercial aspect of it, because then it's going to lose the whole impact reason that we want to create. And hence we went into the social enterprise out where Harris doesn't even take any salary, so at least not for now, and I don't know when we're going to start doing that, but honestly we had to help. The whole reason why we started this was to help those students, to help those parents whose cries I've heard on the phone. And this has happened so many times that at times I would just, hang up the phone with a lot of tears in my eyes, like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So this has happened a lot with us, and we really want to help. The whole reason behind Eximus Education is that.
And this is, I guess, the reason why we left our finance, because I used to work in a bank in the city of London. So similarly, I think you're an MPhil. So I think the fact that we came away from our commercial finance backgrounds, which is quite well based, which is a huge pay cut that we did. It was that fulfillment angle. I think that's what also drives every teacher to go to your classroom. And that's the angle that we decided to consciously to stick with. I remember just last week there was a parent who said, I can't respond to you because I am a bus driver, and and there's another person I remember saying, I'm an Amazon delivery person, so I can't speak to you on the phone. Can you just stop? So I think it's that fulfillment where individuals like them now have access to tutoring. You can't afford the mainstream, which starts with £50, whereas ours is 60% cheaper than. So I think it's that fulfillment angle that keeps us going, and that's I know even though it's not financially rewarding, but it's that thing that keeps us moving, and that's always been at the heart of why we decided to do this, and why we continue to do with what we're doing.
Yeah, very pedagogically driven, and I guess with the teaching background for both of you, it makes sense. Even with that education background.
And that makes us very selective as well. So unlike maybe the industry, we pick our tutors very carefully. So our selection is just 0.5%.
You want them to meet your values.
So out of 200 people who apply, we only select one, because we look at credentials, whether they share the same passion, they have experience, not just somebody who's doing it as a side hustle, but somebody who's really share the same values as what led us to start us in the first place.
And for this reason, our tutors are not side hustlers. They're not students. So a lot of tutoring companies might take, the students are usually more affordable. We didn't want to go that route. So we said
experienced.
they have to be experienced in teaching.